we'll go there. We're gonna assume that's it. Okay. So, um, I'm Cole. All of you know me. We've met for the most part. And I've been hosting the Hungry Ghost since fall of 2023 is when I started calling it the Hungry Ghost. And reframed it as a dopamine reset. But I've been doing something along the lines of a 3 week um, pause from engaging in the quick fix dopamine sources for about 15 years now. I started doing these 21-day sadhanas when I was becoming a yogi back in 2011. And the idea was if we wanted to really be able to focus, if we really wanted to be able to um, shift our awareness into new information, or in my case, I was learning how to be a yoga teacher. It was going to be a lot easier if we weren't if I wasn't taking in a bunch of toxins, if I wasn't taking in a bunch of things that are going to make it harder for me to focus. And as someone who has ADHD, as part of my personality, is a joke that friends talk about. But the idea as an ADHDer is that I'm a distractible person in general. So a lot of these quick fix dopamine sources are just a good idea for me to take pause from if I want to be able to focus on the things that matter in my life. And then as time went on, I went to grad school and I learned more about the science behind all of this. So it's not just spiritual woo woo, but actually knowing that we're living in a time where we have so much being fed to us that is overstimulating, that is creating difficulty when it comes to focus, motivation, and satisfaction. It's very interesting that we're living in a time where we have everything at our fingertips. We want for nothing, even if we are really lacking financially. For the most part, we have a lot that we have access to, yet we are often more depressed, more um, unmotivated, and struggling than earlier times in human history. And a lot of that has to do with a multitude of things, but I believe a big part of it is that our dopamine receptors are kind of being hijacked by a culture that really feeds on overconsumption. Um, so before I go into any more of that, I just am wondering if anyone has anything that they would like to share as to why they showed up today. What about the program spoke to them? What made you give your email address? What made you want to potentially reset your dopamine? And you'll have to unmute yourself in order to share. I'm really good at a long teacher pause, so I will wait.
I'll eat this bullet.
Thank
Hi.
you.
Hi, my name's Dakota. Uh I grew up on the like in central Pennsylvania in like heavily stimulated environment. Eventually I moved like across the country to live kind of like the hermit life in like in the desert and really limit my stimulation and the input and the just all the things that distract me from my art and my passion and my like self-regulation. And then the life circumstances brought me back to the East Coast where all the practices that I developed to help regulate myself got kind of pushed to the wayside because of like there's always something to do over here. And I'm I'm seeking like I'm seeking the ability and the new tools to help regulate when in an environment that is so overwhelming and kind of oppressive. So I heard about this from some friends' Instagram like stories, and I was like, okay, 21 days. This sounds like it could be a worthwhile experiment.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think treating it like an experiment is really the mentality that's going to be most helpful. This is kind of research for yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else does, whether it be a therapist, a clinician, a doctor. So the idea is every time I do these once a season, and every time I learn a little bit more about what's going to make me successful at it. And as time goes on, you start to actually crave these breaks, just like you would crave like your favorite meal or something like that, with the clarity that you have after taking some time from it. We're actually using the dopamine process to encourage taking breaks from overconsumption. So it's like tricking our brain into doing something healthy over and over and over again over time. So experimentation, I think, is a really positive word to use for this. Anyone else want to share? And remember, you're muted. There
Yeah, unmuted.
you go.
Yeah, I feel like I've done this before with you. I gave up alcohol, I think, last time. And I think I also gave up social media last time, but like lightly. And this time I want to like actually deactivate. It feels like perfect timing because lately, like you were talking about, the like systems of overconsumption that we all live in. I've been feeling like really particularly disgusted by that lately and like not wanting to be a part of it at all. And I generally feel like I'm pretty good at staying detached from it, but social media is really like that place that like they're just taking our data and they're like manipulating us in so many ways and stealing so much of our time and like it ruining the creative process in so many ways because I feel like subconsciously we're all like creating with the thought of like Instagrammability in the back of our minds. And I'm
Hmm.
just excited to like have some time away from that.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that when I go through some of the tips to bring that one up, because with anything phone related, we also have to consider a cortisol addiction. So there's the dopamine piece where we have a loop, and I'll go into it a little bit there, where we want that kind of seeking behavior kind of comes out because we want some sort of reassurance or whatever it is. But there's also the cortisol piece where we're addicted to being kind of stressed out, unfortunately.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of the stuff is. So it's like the reason why I don't really consider this addiction protocol necessarily is we also have to consider that all the little things, and we'll talk about it a little bit, have their own essence to them. So it's like, yes, there might be dopamine related to picking up a pack of cigarettes, going to the store, getting the cigarette, and finally you get it. But there's also a chemical component to that too that we have to work with. So I wouldn't just tell someone to abstain from cigarettes. I would also want to set them up with other things that are going to help them in that process because there is a chemical component. So with social media, we have to do a few other things to just make sure that we're successful because it's we can be very well intended, but it's one of the most addictive things on the planet. It's like we can't escape the phones, unfortunately.
yeah.
And just like food addiction, it's like you still have to eat in some capacity. So we're at a point where like technology is a part of our whole situation.
Is
Yeah.
that like written into the program? Is there
The social media part is so the program itself is really you just looking at your relationship with it. So it's like, and actually, Grace, do you want to talk a little bit about the workbook since you've used it in the past?
Yeah, I would. Hi, I'm Grace. I know most of you guys glad to see us. Um, yeah, is my second Hungry Ghost. I will admit I'm a little bit nervous to embark on this journey again. But my last one did help me successfully quit smoking cigarettes.
Mm,
I got over 3 months, no ciggy bums. However, the old brain found out that we could get a little nicotine from blunts. So I want to try to put those down because I did notice many things through writing in the workbook. There were things tied to smoking that were much deeper than I ever really could have imagined, and I kind of discovered those things through the journaling process. Um, I really like the journal. I would like, I wish maybe the journal could be every day of the year one day, Cole. But yeah, so I'm excited to just during this time we got a new year. Just to really take a good look at myself. I want to give up the blunts. No, I love them. And social media break. And I really liked how with this program, replacing these things, what was helped me be successful last time was replacing these things with self-care modalities and techniques instead of reaching for the quick fix. So.
Yeah. So kind of with the workbook, and maybe this would be a good time for me to go into that. I still want other people to be able to share, but with the workbook, the intention, there's some information throughout where I'm giving you some background. But really the real work in the workbook is the different segments. And the idea is that we're doing some reflection and thinking about, what's really going on with these habits. So a lot of times when if you think about the different quick fix dopamine sources, maybe it's boredom, maybe it's lack of intimacy, maybe it's just, I associate this behavior with having fun and I'm not having fun right now. So I'm going to do this because I'm feeling this feeling that maybe isn't super desirable. And so the workbook is there to help us actually sit with some of our stuff so that we don't need the quick fix. And then what happens is over time, when we get more and more comfortable with the emotions and the feelings and the experiences that are less desirable, we're not as afraid of them and we don't need to avoid them as much. And as a result, we go and do the things that actually would make our lives a little bit more fulfilling, a little bit healthier, a little bit happier. So an example would be, okay, I'm craving a drink right now. Wait, hold on. Where did I get to this point? Oh, I just had a stressful interaction and I need to socialize in some capacity. Maybe actually I should just call my best friend and talk to them. Like, I don't think I actually need a drink. But if we're just in that autopilot, the drink actually might feel the most practical to get out of the undesirable sensation. Half the time, we don't even realize we're in an undesirable sensation or experience. We're already doing the quick fix dopamine and then it's like backtracking, like, wait, what happened? And many of us will never even do that process. So there's a different segment for each every 3 days. Like I said, my background is in yoga, so I think about the seven centers of the body. We have a subtle body, and everything I do really works around this. And so those seven centers have to do with your connection to your community, the earth, your emotional center, your sense of self, your heart center, your sense of expression, self-expression, your sense of knowing, and your connection to all that is higher knowing. And so I use that structure and then just bring a little bit more intentionality. So every 3 days, we kind of shift what we're focusing on just subtly so that we're not just journaling the same thing every day. You don't necessarily have to journal in the workbook. These can just be prompts that inspire you. I would maybe save this or print it and be set it up in a way where you could use it over and over again. The intention is to do this once a season. So I'm gonna move on from that and the really get into the idea of dopamine, and why we would want to be doing something like this semi-regularly rather than this idea of, oh my God, I'm bad, I have to stop doing this. Like, that's not why we're here. The idea is not that you're bad and you need to stop doing this. It's that you're a human being and we're living with these ancient technologies. Our bodies were designed for a time in the past that we did not have access to all the stimulation, right? So we are designed to walk around in nature with our family and find food, find places to sleep, to relax every once in a while, to identify predators, to know when to run away, to know when to chill. And that's about it. And a lot of the mechanisms that we have are there to help remind us of what's helpful for our survival. And so dopamine is so great because it helps us remember the things that help us and that help us get through the day, that help us get through hard times, that help us find food, that help us stay nourished, that help us go to the bathroom, whatever it is. So that's why we have dopamine. So if we were walking around in nature, and I always use this example, and we see a fruit tree and we grab a piece of fruit, nature really wants us to take that fruit because that's going to help that tree keep growing. If we eat it, we're going to spread the seed around. We're really meant to work together with nature. We are not meant to be in these little boxes separate. All this stuff is all man-made. So this antiquated technology is just like, okay, I need to remember that fruit tree because in the future, I might need vitamin C, I might need fiber, I might need sustenance. And if I remember the way that fruit tree looks, the next time I see it, I'll be able to point it out and grab the fruit, right? And not only that, but I will know the nourishment that I got from that fruit, and I will have this mechanism that will inspire me to every September seek out that fruit. I'm gonna know this time of the year when you know, I'm saying September, it doesn't matter what month. This time of year when the weather feels this way, that thing, whether it be fruit, a mushroom, whatever, that thing is available. So I'm gonna remember and I'm gonna seek it out and look for it. And then once I find it, I'm gonna have the satisfaction of finding it. So that's what dopamine is for, basically. And it can be applied to anything, but it's so that we seek out the things that help us survive. Um, in modern times, we're trying to survive a lack of natural stimulation, right? So we are using these antiquated technologies in a very modern setup, and this modern setup profits off of these antiquated technologies, kind of just doing their thing. So at some point in history, I had this thing that actually is probably not good for my body overall, but it made me feel good in that moment. So say it's a substance of some kind, whatever, fill in the blank. We'll say social media. So at some point, I was really, really lonely and I had no one to talk to, and I was on here and it really fulfilled me, right? So my brain remembers that like it's the fruit tree, right? But actually, what happens over time, if you're spending too much time on social media, it's going to affect your sleep. It's not necessarily going to help biodiversity in the area. You're not spreading a seed around. You're actually just like destroying your eyes, and there's all kinds of things that are going wrong if we're on there. Um, so how do we give our antiquated technologies a break from all of this like overstimulation, so that it can start to work properly and motivate us to the things that are actually going to help us in our life trajectory? Um, so without getting too, and we can talk about some of the things that we think we might want to abstain from, but without going too far down that rabbit hole, did that make anything click for you? Anything come up for you that you'd like to share? Sometimes it's so much better if someone rewords what I said because it might help someone else understand it.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Joe Rogers here. This is my first one. And I have a social media addiction and an overall negative association with my phone. I hate it. I hate my phone so much, but it's like necessary for everything. And I've never tried to limit it, I guess. I've never like had any good self-control or self-discipline with it. And I've reached a level of disgust with it like a few months ago. And then I saw you talking about your Hungry Ghost course again. And I'm like, oh, all right, it's time. Let's do it.
Hmm. Nice. Good. Yeah. Yeah, and just if you think about, you know, social media. So social, the implication is it's a form of socializing, right? And so we can, with anything, we can make that out to be the bad thing, or we can understand that in some way we're using it incorrectly and how to create a more balanced approach to it. And that's not always possible. Sometimes people do just need to completely eliminate things. And typically for the Hungry Ghosts, I think that it's a great idea to, at least for that first week, just don't try your best not to touch it at all.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about how to go in about the social media piece. But knowing, when we're working in the workbook, that's really like, what is it that we're getting from the social media? So the Hungry Ghost in this approach, we're using it almost like internal family system. So the idea is that we have a part of our personality that we're going to call the Hungry Ghost. And this part of our personality is just insatiable, and it can just take it's a bottomless pit, a bottomless appetite for the thing, whatever that thing is, and it's never going to be satisfied. But it has good intention. So when this part of our personality comes on, it means well. It thinks it's helping us. It thinks it's helping us survive even. So what is it? Sometimes we have to go, like sometimes I have to go on social media for good reason so that you guys could know that I'm hosting this program. That was a good reason. It can serve something good, right? Now, if I'm on it constantly and I'm getting jacked up and agitated and not going to sleep, that's not a good reason. So there's like, how do we adjust appropriately? And so when we're looking at that piece, it's, how do I approach this without having shame, hate, judgment? Oh my God, I'm addicted to my phone. I'm one of those people, like whatever it is that comes up for us, right? Instead, knowing, hey, this thing is like designed to make me addicted to it. So I'm just functioning properly with its intentions. Um, but also, that social piece. I think a lot of us are going on there because we're seeking connection in some capacity. We're seeking some sort of, maybe not intimacy, but validation, awareness, interest, whatever it is. And that's going to be something that we explore through the workbook. So the idea isn't, I'm just out there raw dogging, not having social media. No, I'm actually going to look at why I like the social media thing while keeping in mind, yes, this is super, super stimulating. But that way, when we have that inclination to pick it up, we have a why as to why we're not picking it up, and we understand what it is we're actually seeking in that moment, which is usually connection. And so instead of picking up the social media, we could go for a walk to our friend's house. We can call our mom. We can actually find the connection we're craving rather than just feeling, oh no, I can't have the thing I want, because the oh no, I don't have the thing I want just creates more cortisol. And then what happens is, yeah, we don't have social media, but now all of a sudden we're on like a gambling app, or we're eating tons of pizza, or we never really considered this substance before, but we're going to consider it. So the reason why we don't just want to raw dog it is because what happens is kind of what we call process. You just choose another thing that is a quick fix dopamine source over it. And that's my intention, is to really avoid that by actually doing the work, if that makes sense. Um, Anyone have anything they want to express before I move on? I love like the little popcorn that comes out when we're talking. I think that's like the most organic way to do this. And that's kind of how I prefer sharing. I think I heard someone. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kayla. Um, I've known Cole for a long, long time. This is my first Hungry Ghost, so I've known about it probably for as long as she's been practicing it. Um, and yeah, what you just said about I'd like to say it's just social media, but it's not. I really can like delete my Instagram app without even like deactivating my account and like not really touch it. I've figured out how to like eliminate it from being searched. So like, when you swipe down to search your apps, it suggests apps and you can turn off suggesting Instagram. So I actually have to type in Instagram if I want to go to it, which
Mm.
helped a lot too. Like that's just the way I was once I took a break from it, I was only going to it for a purpose. Like you were saying, like, oh, I have to post this thing to get to this connection in real life or whatever. Um, but then I would just like doom scroll eBay, Amazon. Like I would just like literally anything. It was just crazy. I'd be like, oh, what fish vintage t-shirts or Grateful Dead vintage t-shirts are out there? Like, just like favorite. It's just like, oh, this guy will send me a discount if I favorite it. And it was just like, it's really my phone. And I don't know, I'm trying to find through this balance in trying to close that gap between what they want me to do and like what I'm choosing to do. Because yes, I can be like
That's
this thing, it's made to make me want it. It's made to, da, 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 da. But like at a certain point, I also want to accept responsibility that I'm choosing to engage in it, you know? And yes, I get that, like, I really truly believe that these things happen. This like happened to us. I was born in 88. I didn't have a smartphone until I was in college. And I don't think we really chose it. I think that it was something that just like happened to us and we didn't know really where it was going to lead us. And
and
yeah, it's
that
like
could
how
be
it can,
said about a lot of different
yeah,
things that are highly addictive.
definitely. And so I'm just, it wasn't just removing the one thing. I was like, oh, I removed the social media. And I was just like, okay, well, my phone usage is still disgusting. And I started to like track out at the end of the day, like write in my journal, like, well, my phone usage was, and it's like pretty sick. It's pretty like if I was doing anything else for that amount of time, I'd probably like be in a much better place.
And they're showing, if you do the math, they're saying like people are spending years of their
Years,
lives on
years.
their phone. And so that
Yeah.
would be a part of the assessment of just like when we go back to the why am I not picking that up? Like some of
Yeah,
these
I want
things
my
are really
time.
looking at all of that so that we can, yeah, get the buy-in. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think that like closing that gap and taking responsibility, but also not from a place of blaming myself, but from a place of just understanding the greater system and relationship of the things.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm trying to like tease that out a bit through this process as well.
awesome. Yeah, and I think you know, the goal of just calling it the Hungry Ghost is so that we can create this idea of like this, we're not identifying as much with these addictive behaviors. It's not us so much as this part of us called the Hungry Ghost. So we start to be able to look at it rather than judging ourselves. We be able to like, oh, there's my hungry ghost again, so that we can start to kind of separate ourselves a little bit from this thing that we all experience through these different portals, these different things that kind of pull us in. I really like the idea of like not doing what they want us to do. And that's, without going too much on my soapbox, to me, this is the resistance. Like, this is how we truly, if we want to affect the planet, if we want to affect society in some way, it's not being completely at the whim of our hungry ghosts, of our desires, because they are just profiting so much and allowing the planet to completely to be taken over by greed and consumption because we just need the amount of time I've spent on these things after seeing some sort of ad about every single thing you can think of. And I don't even want to go into it too much because it will completely derail my conversation. But sit with that, like look at the world right now. Look at what you're being exposed to, what is being sold to you. How much of that is autopilot, you responding, and how much of that is actually you How much of what is around you that you own, that you're looking at, like really starting to have an assessment with yourself, like who's running the show. And that's another reason to really start to identify this hungry ghost part so that we can start to live more authentically and without going too much on a tangent, when we're in that authenticity, that's when we come up with solutions for problems in the world. That's when we start to come up with ways to inspire people to make changes in their lives. That's when we come up with songs. That's when we come up with art. That's when all the good, yummy shit happens. It's not happening when we're completely just being pulled by the system and our desires. So, some of the desires are good too. And, we'll go in, we'll save space for the good ones. Okay. So before I let myself go too far in the wrong direction, I want to talk about the different tiers of commitment to the hungry ghost. So, like I said, this is something that I try to do every season. There's been seasons where like I half-ass a 21-day one and it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna abstain from this thing that I really don't care about anyway. And there's other seasons where I'm like, girl, you've been really just letting the Hungry Ghost run the show and you're on a break and you gotta completely get back into who you are outside of all of these different pulls in the different direction. And I want you to think of it as pulls in the different directions. So we wake up in the morning and we feel ourselves, and it's like, okay, I need a coffee before I can start the day. All right, I got to check the social media. Next thing you know, someone's like lighting something up. Okay, well, at some point today, I have to meet a friend for a drink. Oh, now I'm eating all this like lab food that it is not recognizable in any other time as food other than now. All this stuff that we're putting into our system, our body just like reacting to it, even though it's set up for these ancient times. It If we want to kind of unplug and reset, we do need to take a break from as much of that as possible every once in a while. If we were living in nature, you wouldn't have access to food every day. You wouldn't have access to a comfy, cozy bed every day. You wouldn't have access to most comfortable things consistently. Women know that in your month, your day to day has never been the same. It shifts. Constant comfort is not real. It's not real. It is manufactured. We've worked really hard for it. It causes a lot of suffering if we think it's real, and it creates attachment. So, how do we allow ourselves in a way that's not overly stressful to be somewhat uncomfortable? And what the truth is, if we can set ourselves up to purposely create that discomfort, we have so much more fun and enjoy our lives so much more than if we just let the Hungry Ghost run the show and then life just like hits us in the face, right? So it's like constant comfort. I have the cigarette, now I'm coughing. I never had to go without the cigarette, and now I'm coughing up my lungs, right? Constant comfort, constant comfort, constant comfort. I never had to go without the social media, and now I have no personality. Constant comfort, constant comfort. I never had to go without the yummy treat that I wanted, and now I'm unhealthy and unable to walk up the stairs. Constant comfort, constant comfort. I never had to say no to the alcoholic beverage when I wanted one, and now I'm being faced with my decisions. Um, all these different things, right? So if we can start to change our relationship with the discomfort piece, we become kind of superheroes in a way. Choosing your discomfort is so much better than having life choose your discomfort for you. It will come either way, right? And you can think of the times in your life where we didn't want to face it and it just hits us in the face, right? Um, I'm just like my mind is just like flashing all the examples, relationships that I refuse to leave because they're uncomfortable. Whatever it is, we have to sometimes be uncomfortable. So, what I tend to suggest is your first round doing the Hungry Ghost, you just choose that one thing that this is an issue, right? And you have to be honest with yourself. Because you're going to get so much more out of it if it's actually the thing. Not like the thing that you're like, maybe I'll try that. Like it actually has to be the thing. unfortunately. And you're going to try your damnedest to be as good at it as possible, knowing that you're probably going to fuck up. It's just like kind of the whole thing of being a human. And what's really cool about the possibility that you're going to screw up is that when you actually keep doing it, it's going to be harder to keep doing it and you're going to get so much more out of it because you knew that you know secretly you're a screw up and you still did it. Like you messed up and you still continued it and your brain's paying attention to all of that and you get all kinds of yummy good feelings because of it, which is so great and like such a better high than any other drug you're ever going to do, right? So just playing with that. So that's committing to that. And then, so that's tier one. It's just knowing, being really honest. You don't need to even tell anyone about it. If you're not ready to go there with yourself, that's fine. But I really recommend having at least one buddy that you can talk to about it and be like, I'm not going to tell Cole this is the thing, but this is really the thing that I need to work on. I know that this is the one, right? That's fine. It can be a secret, but you got to know. And then tier two is being honest with yourself. If I were to actually succeed in this thing, what else would I have to do? So the example that we always use, I used last time, is giving up cigarettes. Last time around, if they wanted to give up cigarettes, they knew that there was not a chance that they're going to be able to go out to the bar and drink and not smoke a cigarette. So they also had to give up drinking for the 21 days. It's not the rest of your life. It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks goes by really fast. 5 years just went by really fast. 6 years. Well, it was 2020 like 5 seconds ago, right? So like 3 weeks goes by really fast. That first week though, super hard. The first week's gonna be hard. It's not easy because it's like the autopilot is there. You're fighting the autopilot. So tier one, identify the actual thing. Tier two, identify the supporting things that are going to make it harder to actually do that. So yes, maybe I want to give up social media. Um, But if I really want to give that up, I know I'm going to have to deactivate my account. I know I'm also going to have to probably, um, I know when I give up social media, I have to delete the apps and I can only go on the internet on my computer, whatever it is. It's not the best example. Again, social media is like the hardest one, in my opinion. I know I want to give up uh, dairy. So I know that I'm going to also have to delete my Grubhub app or whatever it is. You have to think outside of the box. I want to give up marijuana. So I know I'm going to have to probably like, make sure there's not marijuana in the house. I'm probably going to have to not hang out with this one person that all we do when we hang out is smoke together. Unfortunately, I have to be honest with myself. I want to give up sugar. I know I'm going to have to like start reading the ingredients on things because tomato sauce has sugar in it. Like literally every lab food has sugar in it. So you're going to have to actually do that other work. So it's not just like other addictions necessarily or dopamine sources that you'd be giving up. It's just the honest assessment of what will it take for you to give that up. And then tier three is when you start to look at when you give up your favorite dopamine source, quick fix dopamine source, what is it that who else starts to come online? That's when the Hungry Ghost starts to really have its like field day. So I gave up, I'm trying to think of what like my main one is. So I usually just give them all up because it's easier for me. I don't know why, but I'm an all or nothing girly. But so say, I think giving up gluten is one of my big ones. So I'm giving up my favorite food. I'm an Italian. I love bread and pasta. It's real hard. It's really, really hard for me. I'm giving that up. Um, and if I want that to be successful, I also have to look at like all of a sudden I'm craving sugar. I don't normally crave sugar. So it's like all the sneaky things that come online when you give it up. All of a sudden, like I feel like gossiping. I don't normally gossip at all, but because I'm not eating my favorite food, now all of a sudden I like want to gossip. I'm not smoking right now, but now all of a sudden I want to drink more than I normally did, or I'm into, I start drinking all the coffee in the entire world, or whatever it is. So it's just noticing how the balancing act starts to happen. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm unable to articulate this one. We got it. So tier three is like all the sneaky little hungry ghosts outs that are also quick fix dopamine. Um, did you want to share something, anyone? Reword what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm like picturing the little ghost emojis like popping out as I get rid of something.
Yeah. So it's like,
Like,
oh, yeah, I'm doing such a good job. I'm abstaining. And then it's like, oh yeah, but now now I'm eating every candy thing of candy that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's like, yeah, you're not smoking, but like you're doing this other thing. The intention there is not for you to judge it because, again, that tier one is still the most important one. That's the thing that we're going to feel the most successful about. So if you do eat all the candy, you still accomplish the goal, right? But we still know, ah, there's something going on here, right? And that's where like the deeper work in the workbook comes up because it's like, baby, like you're uncomfortable. There's something going on. We have to deal with something. There's a feeling in there. There's something unresolved. There's something that needs to be acknowledged. There's something that needs to be cared for. And the hungry ghost, when it's going to these things, it's trying to care for you. It's trying to soothe your nervous system. It's trying to make sure that you're okay. It's trying to make sure you feel safe. Um, and how do we start to make sure that the hungry ghost knows, I got this. Yeah, I'm not going to have the cigarettes, but I don't need candy to feel better. I can meditate to feel better. I can go for a walk. I can call my friend. I can go to the gym. I can drink all the water. I can, start writing my book. I can dance, around my house listening to really good music. Like I don't need these other quick fix dopamine things to make me feel better. Thank you so much for that suggestion. I really appreciate that you remember so easily all the things that will quickly snap me out of this. However, I'm trying to do the challenging thing right now. And the challenging thing is not the quick fix, it's the actually dealing with it. Now, with the chemical addiction type stuff, there's like a little bit of wiggle room there where we might need to supplement something in the meantime so that we're not creating distress in the nervous system. The example is if you are consuming a lot of nicotine, this is just an easy example, right? And we just cut it out cold turkey, but you have like a really busy month ahead of you and you have a lot of stuff going on. It's the holidays, it's all this stuff. And you like, it's probably not in your best interest to raw dog life in that capacity. Because you're going to be feeling a lot of stuff. So in that case, you might do, you're cutting out the oral fixation of smoking, which is you're going to benefit a lot from, but maybe you would do um, like the nicotine patch so that your nervous system is still getting the chemical that it needs while you're breaking the habit and you can be tapering down over time. Um, for coffee addicts, like if you just go from coffee to no coffee, you're going to have a really bad headache. So it's like, okay, maybe you're going to have black tea that day. You're not going to just go from drinking 4 cups of coffee to just not having any caffeine at all. Don't suggest it. It's terrible. You're going to have a terrible migraine. There's a chemical component to things, and we want to be mindful of. So identifying like what your acceptable replacements are, I think is a really good idea. And the rules are your own. Like I can give you suggestions when we work one-on-one, but that's really kind of um, something that you want to sit with, what actually works for you, what doesn't. For social media, you want to have a journal on you. So if you're getting rid of social media, you're deactivating your accounts, and if you try to click and you after you deactivate it, it's open again for a whole week. So do not be tempted. I've learned the hard way, just like having it's embarrassing when you think you're trying to detox from social media and you're caught because you accidentally logged in. So deactivate your accounts, delete the apps. You can always bring them back when you're done. and then have a small notebook on you. So when you have a thought that you want to share, you can still write it down, and maybe have a few friends that you reach out to ahead of time, and you're like, I'm not on social media, so if I'm texting you a little bit more coming up, that's why, so that you don't feel shame around it. But just, and these, it doesn't have to be those suggestions, but starting to have ideas of what you want to do. Um, but like Kayla's example, I think it's really, yes, social media will be the main thing, but really taking a step away from the phone altogether is the goal, right? So if you're giving up social media and you're f filling up your Amazon account, and it's just like, we don't want to replace one problem with another problem. I'd rather you save your money, you know? Um, Okay, so there's the different tiers. And then as far as the different quick fix dopamine sources, the list is long. It seemed like everyone kind of came in here with the idea of the thing that they would like to abstain from, but I'm just going to give you some other suggestions of what you might consider and what you might also just know are those sneaky hungry ghost guys that are going to come up and tempt you. So the obvious: social media, alcohol, nicotine, drugs, narcotics, whatever it is. Um, those are like the bigger ones. The less obvious: sugar. I call it lab food. Anything that's refined with a crap ton of chemicals. It is designed to make you eat more and more of it. It is not necessarily designed for it. Food isn't designed. It comes from nature. So just keep that in mind, right? If it's designed, um, so any designer food, um, the what else? Pornography. It really does all kinds of interesting things to the brain, and it actually creates difficulty oftentimes in connection, intimacy, and a whole bunch of other issues. It's not saying pornography has to be bad, but overconsumption of it, very challenging for your dopamine. Um, Pornography, gambling is an obvious one. And gambling can be like sneaky. We don't always realize that this is gambling, right? Like, so all of a sudden you become like wild on rocket money. Like, just just you got to be honest with yourself, right? So you can be doing stocks responsibly, or you can be, doing what you're doing, whatever it is. Um, uh, Sex doesn't have to be it, but if there's a difference between intimacy and relationships and connection and quick fix sex. So there's the novelty kind of sex. Are you guys trying to share?
I was
Unmute.
going to say gossip.
Gossip is a fun one, right? It's super, super fun. You won't even realize how fun it is until you've given up all the other quick fix dopamine. You're like, oh shit, I just got high off of that. That is wild. So just start to notice it, and yours might be different. Um, Reading is typically good, but sometimes the romance fantasy type novels can be one where they get you to check out of your life, and you're going to be less satisfied in your life because of that consumption. So just notice where you're at with it. I'm trying to think of, can you guys think of any other ones? I feel like I'm definitely missing a few. Um, Fast food, takeout, anything that you like, instant delivery type stuff, right? If you can food prep and prepare your food, that's going to be much better for your dopamine than ordering something and um, having it delivered.
Shopping, same
Shopping,
thing.
shopping.
Video games.
Video games. Oh my gosh, video games. And so some people make make their living off of that. And so how to do that responsibly is a whole different ball game. However, truly, we're craving connection and excitement and all these different things. If we're just on the video game, we could miss out on the entire experience of being here, right? And a lot of younger people are. Um, So those are the ones that we want to pay attention to. And then there'll be tricky ones where you're like, how is this the thing that I've come up with? And you'll know what it is. And just describe it, write it down so that you know for the future. Again, we're experimenting, we're doing science here on your own life. Yours might be something just super bizarre, tarot readings on the internet. Like who knows what yours is? Um, Note it and know that that might be the thing that you over rely on. And then some of the positive ones, the I call it like type 2 fun or delayed gratification sources are again things that you're going to have to come up with because these are like bigger goals that we might be avoiding through the quick fix stuff. Sometimes the quick fix dopamine is so that we don't have to live up to our potential on some weird like creepy level where it's like if I just get stoned all the time, like I don't have to like actually be this badass person that could potentially change the world. Like I don't have to take care of my body and be the healthiest I've ever been or whatever it is, you know. So um some of those goals could be, I know for me, I've been avoiding a book that I've been working on for as long as I can remember being a human. There's, you know, learning a new skill, getting better at your craft, cleaning your house, organizing your stuff, getting back on track financially, getting a better assessment of where you are as a parent or a family member or a partner. Actually, you know, just starting to get to know yourself better outside of these things that kind of help us avoid ourselves. And the list goes on. Some of the things that I think are the most helpful, I don't know if they're necessarily as delayed gratification, but you know, exercise, meditation, anything that's getting you in your body is putting you into your parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system, if that's activated, we're in rest and digest mode. We are not building new trauma. We're like healing. We're letting go. We're just thriving. So, as often as you can get into that as possible, the better. I think one of the reasons we cling to the quick fix dopamine is because it kind of brings us into that state, but it's a false activation of that state, and it doesn't actually benefit us as much as if we can get there naturally. So the easiest way to activate that is through bilateral movement of any kind. So you can just be swaying from side to side. You can bicycle, you can walk, you can lay on your back and just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. You can be hypnotized. You can say a two-syllable mantra. You can sing something like thank you over and over again. Like anything that just is bilateral, you can go to a jam band and just dance from side to side. Like literally, you just have to not do all the drug, right? But there's still the benefit there. Go ahead.
Um, so you're saying like have a little journal. I got like a tiny mini pack of like kids' crayons. And when I don't want to write something and I don't want to move my body, I'll just use both hands and scribble. And it helps. It really helps. It like
That's
takes me
amazing.
right out of it. So that it's
Yeah.
like I'm not forcing myself to get up from like I'm not be like exercise, breath work, meditation. It's like the first step. And 9 times out of 10, I'll do that for a couple minutes and then I'm like, oh actually I want to take a walk. So I
Yeah.
don't know, just
Yeah. We've talked about too in the past, like remember the little Etch-a-Sketch with the two little buttons? They sell mini ones of those. Like if you really need something to stim with, you could do that. I hula hooping. It really, again, this is your experimentation. Think about what you have, but just know that bilateral movement will do the thing that this and all that does without all the negative effects, just positive effects. I think about when we were kids, and you remember like the rope and like making the designs with your hands, where you'd like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like all the little things that we
cat's
intuitively,
cradle.
yeah, we were intuitively doing this kind of stuff since we were kids, right? There's a reason for it. There's something very restorative about it. It's creative. It doesn't cause any problems. Um, Okay, so we went over the tiers, the positive ones, the negative ones. Um, and then I guess right now, if we want, we can just with the last few minutes, if we want to, if you have any questions about the ones that you are doing and want like to brainstorm with the group about how you could be successful, we could do that. And then otherwise, we'll send off in the next few minutes since we've already had an hour. Um, Again, I do think social media and the phone is historically, now that this is, I think, the third year we're doing this, historically, that has been the hardest for people. The things that have been most successful doing that is the deactivating of the accounts and having something to replace it. So the idea that like you have a gathering with your girlfriends planned on this day, so you don't need to get all your gab out, or you still want to get the news in, but say, okay, I'm going to do that on the TV from this time to this time. You can give yourself time limits. I would not mess with it too much on social media because the time limits are tricky, right? Has anyone ever set time limits on your social media and you just click right through it, right? There's no, that's like a challenging one. If you are to use other apps, just knowing that the shorter the videos, the more dysregulating they are. So anything that's like short form, we want to avoid. I feel like I've almost for the Hungry Ghost, if you notice, all the videos are kind of long, and I'm just trying to be a pain in the ass there for a reason. And the idea is just how do we sit and like get back into being able to receive information and let ourselves not need to jump to the next thing. Um, During this process, prioritizing sleep, you can at night making sure you're getting magnesium, things like that, the eating a well-rounded diet, preparing your food intentionally, all these things are going to just make the whole process a lot easier. Um, and the intention of the 21 days, yes, this is, 21 days is just kind of a sacred number when we're doing a sadhana. It's just you do 21 or 108, it's just always been that way, right? So we just say. But in addiction communities, what we found is it takes around that many days to build a new habit and to break an old habit. That first week, you're just fighting the autopilot. The second week, you're like, oh, wait, I can do this. And you start to feel confident about it. And then the third week, you actually start to experience the benefit of not having all those things in your system. That first week is kind of a withdrawal week. So do not judge the process based on the first week. It's just not fair. You really don't know what's going on yet. The second week can be really blissful, but sometimes the second week, in my experience, on a harder life journey. But when the second week comes around is when the universe is just like, here's this really inconvenient thing that happened, and here's an expense of an extra $1,000 that you weren't expecting. Like all the reasons why you would want to go and like do something, a quick fix dopamine, they might come up. That's why you want to have a buddy that you can call or someone that you can check in with in those moments where you're like, this just happened and I really want to go have a drink, or I really want to like just scroll on the internet or whatever it is, then you can talk to them about it. Social media people, you definitely want to have a book to read by your bed. You're going to need something to kind of zone out. Um, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say unless we have any other questions. We're good? Any insights? Yeah.
I have a question. So part of my social media detox idea is I have like so many fun things saved that I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this one day, this great craft, this cool recipe, this exercise or whatever. So I kind of want to like make a thing maybe after the first week where I'll allow myself to have some social media, but only to attack one of these things. Like, oh, I'm feeling like I want to do a craft. Like, let me pick one from these this saved stuff that I don't know. I don't always look at, but maybe it's a terrible idea.
I would maybe so what I found when I'm doing my social media detox is as long as I don't have my personal account where I can like scroll and see all my friends and like get like looped in, I'm usually fine. So if you wanted to, you could maybe get all those things that you have saved and like send them to one of your other accounts. And then that way you could still deactivate your personal one for a little bit, but be able to do that and not get roped in. Because really the issue with social media is when we get roped into the scrolling and then we lose chunks of our day. There everyone's like, oh, the last 5 years have gone by so fast. Yeah, because we just like gave it to these devices and so not to be mean, but you know. So the how to basically how to use it in a way where you won't get roped in. Um, but also figuring, whatever you guys figure out, something if something works for you, please share it with me because I'm going to give this as advice to the next round of people. And the intention eventually is not for us to have to do the once a season thing, but to be able to, I think generally we still need the once a season thing just because, or detox or reset, just because the mechanisms are just on autopilot, right? And there's a reason why almost every religious tradition has fasted for portions of the year. We need this. We need time to kind of take a step back. But the goal would be to just have a healthier relationship with all of these things. And if we start to pull in these healthier habits, we will rely less on these easy quick fix dopamine sources. So like for example, with Grace's example of, oh, these are all these crafts and stuff that I want to try. Well, once you actually learn how to do all those crafts, you don't need social media to find the crafts because you have a repertoire of crafts that you can do. So there, and eventually if we do this enough, it's like, okay, well, I'm on my Hungry Ghosts right now. So I have my craft room set up and I'm just going to be going crafting. I don't need it. I don't need ideas. Um, so anyone else? Any insights, questions, thoughts?
I'm sorry, I do have one more question. I just wanted the contribution, the reciprocity lay down real quick. So for like the workbook, it hasn't changed. I can use my PDF from last time,
Yeah.
right? But just for like overall the connections and check-ins, would you mind just hitting some
Yeah.
numbers real fast?
Yeah, yeah. So the whole program is $33 and it includes the workbook this time. Once you have the workbook, you can do the program as many times as you want, but I just ask that when you do the check-in calls, you give a donation. So it could turn into you giving more each time. It really doesn't matter. My intention is just to get you, again, I gave my little spiel of why I think this is important for the planet. This is my form of resistance. I just want you to do the thing. So, like, if you spending money is going to keep you from doing the thing, we'll figure it out. But ideally, you get the workbook, you keep returning, and you just donate every time we do the check-in calls. The free intro call, you don't have to donate for necessarily. Ideally, when I'm doing something, it's usually a $22 donation for all my offerings. So that would be $22 each time. You do not need, I just say $22. I've always said $22. If you gave $2, it's fine. I would prefer it to be slightly more than that because it is my time. But really, again, it's so much more meaningful for me to have people participating in the program than making money off of it. But I do have to consider the fact that I live in this system and I do have to make some sort of financial exchange when I'm doing this stuff. So, did that answer it?
Come on, man.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to be sure. I like the for me the committing, like even it's a small fee, but it's like, okay, like I'm putting this like
Yeah.
my energy into it and I know how much hard work that you put into creating this program. So thank you so much for sharing with us your needs.
Yeah, and if you want to donate ahead of time for those two check-in sessions, you can do that and just say for the two check-in sessions, and I'll just know that that's what it's for. And the intention of the $33 and the workbook is really so that you're putting something down so that you will commit to it. I do find that when I pay for something, I'm more likely to do it. And also having those check-ins, I'm ADD, so I definitely have to set things up with accountability. So those check-ins are really meant to be there. So it's like, oh, on the 4th, I said I was going to do this, and now it's the 12th, and I forgot that I said I was going to do that. So it's meant to give you some urgency. I do recommend if this all felt good for you to, you know, do the workbook to send over the donation. You can also just buy it through the website link that I gave you, and I'll just see it and I'll send you everything. Um, but yeah, that financial commitment definitely does help. Originally, this program was $222, and I just tried to make it a little bit more manageable for everybody. And it used to have like individual check-ins where we would do solo ones too. Now we're just doing online support just to make it a little bit more manageable. And I figured I was going to be doing it anyway, so why not make it affordable? Good. Any other insights, thoughts, questions, desires to share? Hi, Maggie.
Hey, I was wondering if you ever thought of like making a group chat with like, I don't know, maybe more financial. But because I don't know anybody else besides you. Um, I think that would be, I mean, I know a lot of people, including me, is trying to be less on their phones, but I feel like that could be interesting. And
We can do it
then,
maybe on like WhatsApp or something.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's a separate
yeah, or
app.
like WhatsApp or Signal or something.
Okay.
And then I also wanted to ask if anyone, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I was just wondering if anybody else has kids, because I feel like that like is like a huge factor for me.
Hmm. I think some
I
have
got a 13-year-old.
Nice. I don't know who said that. I can't really pop up.
Hi, Grace here. Hey, Maggie.
Hi.
And would be down to connect after. I
Hmm.
like the group app. It's nice to have some support, even though I kind of, anyway. But yeah, I have a kid and I see how these things manifest in his own. He's 13, he has his own phone. And I just see him constantly being like, hey, be present with me, come back, take your ear pods out when we're
Yeah.
hanging out together. That kind of shit. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even just like as a form of self-regulation, Maggie, I don't know if this is what you're leaning towards, but like taking care of young kids and like needing, even just as a teacher, I know sometimes at the end of the day, I will, instead of sleeping, end up on my phone just to have that solo time that feels like it's me time. And I hear that happens a lot for moms. So I don't know if that's anything that you're experiencing um, but how it can make it more challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think like to not to make this too much longer, like, um, yeah, it's like you don't really have a lot of like time to do like a long hot, like it's like I can't really pick up a book, but I can pick up my phone, and like
Yeah.
distract myself from like being present for like 10 seconds, but I can't really like sit and like read a book or like do art or whatever. But then I'll like let him watch TV so that I can be on my phone, which I'm like,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I
Yeah.
think it's interesting, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's very much common too. And maybe we can talk a little bit on brainstorming th other things that will give you that kind of effect in those moments when you need the downtime. I also like podcasts over, there's other ways to take in content. You can listen to audiobooks, just trying to get out of the scrolling piece with the impact it has on your eyes and your nervous system. But honestly, all the information is a lot. I don't know. As far as WhatsApp, if I were to set up a group on there, if I could send that in a link in the email, do you know?
Yeah, you could do that for sure.
Okay. And if not, you guys can give me your numbers and I can add you. But
Yeah.
I'll try to set up a WhatsApp group. The reason why I'm thinking WhatsApp is just so that it's not on the same, you're not getting a bunch of notifications on your text messages. I think sometimes having a separate app is helpful. But if anyone has a different suggestion, just let me know. But I'm going to end this call now. Any other things that you would like to address or talk about, feel free to reach out to me privately. Oh, as far as the check-in calls, last time we did midway, which is a Thursday evening, and then we did the final day of the program. Not a lot of people came to that final day. So I was wondering if maybe just at the two Sundays, so we would do this Sunday coming up and then the Sunday, basically it's like the Sunday of each start of the week rather than the end of the week. Does that make sense to you guys? Or would you rather do the midway and final?
I think there's a point to the like at the hardest, like if week one is the hardest week, I think that's a good time to check in after. And then if week two is starting to get easier, and with your previous data, of course, considered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No one came to the final one. So I think we'll consistently around this time on Sundays, unless there's a big issue, we could always go later. So I'll write that in the email. My throat is starting to shut down, so I'm going to sign off. But I'm really grateful that you guys were here and that you're engaged, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. We start tomorrow morning, so just preparing today. All right, bye-bye.